Welcome to episode 16 of State of Social podcast. This week was a good one for us social media managers because if you know, you know, there was a day where our socials were out, and I feel like it happens once a quarter nowadays. But we're going to be talking about diving into that mainly today as inspiring our topic of what do we do when social media is out? We're also going to dive into a little bit of a check-in for you social media managers out there and those working in the industry to say, how you doing? How's that mental health doing? Because we need that once in a while. Before we dive into all of that, though, I would like some breaking news. Somebody do like the breaking news report. We have breaking news from the U.S. politics. The U.S. TikTok ban is back on the table. So we're not going to dive too much into this. We just know it's happening this week. So it's making headlines, and that means one of two things. You, as the social media manager, might be either rolling your eyes and saying, yeah, whatever, or you might be super concerned, or you might be in the middle. And then you might have clients being like, oh no, what are we going to do? So realistically, we're just going to briefly talk about it, give our thoughts, then we're going to move into our topics for the day. So what is happening? The situation is there's a bill moving through the US government that could stop TikTok from being available in the US unless TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is that what owns it? Which is based in China, sells TikTok to a non-Chinese company within 5 months. That's the parameters here. So for us as social media managers, if TikTok gets banned, obviously we're going to have to change our social media strategy because we can't do that anymore. But that's the malleability of being a social media strategist, knowing how to optimize on different platforms and not putting all your eggs in one basket. But really, like, that's all we can do, right? Like, we can stick to the facts. We can stay up to date on what's happening with this bill. But other than that, you can't do anything unless you just contact your representatives and say, hey, don't do that. That is something you can do. That's a very actionable step, actually. But how people are reacting to this is obviously TikTok doesn't like the bill. They're telling their users it's bad because it could limit what people can share and do online. And they too are trying to get people to tell Congress that they don't want the bill to pass. So what's next is the bill has support from both political parties and the White House, but it's not sure yet if it will become law. I believe it still needs to go through a couple other processes. I'm a little bit forgetting how all those work, but I think it has to go through some kind of court and they have to approve that or something. So we'll see. But any thoughts on this? I honestly, personally, not concerned. I think when they talk about this, I mean, just hearing the hearing was, I really couldn't listen to it. The questions they were asking the CEO of TikTok were so embarrassing. Just as a person with normal brain cells that is a user online, like, come on, let's not waste their time, please. So like personally, I'm not worried because I think this is just like going to go away. But is anybody on this team worried? What are your thoughts?
I'm also not worried. I feel like it's going to get figured out, but I do just like I am wondering what we would do, how we would pivot, and everyone in the industry.
Yeah,
There's always that chance. But to me, like I'm not even thinking about that happening because I just
yeah,
no way. But it is interesting to think about. And I
yeah.
don't know the first steps that we would take if that was
Mm-mm.
going
I
to
think
happen.
I think I actually might start a protest. Like I think I might actually be down on out in front of the White House.
Yeah.
I might.
Why not? Get the picket signs out.
Really.
Um, I don't know. I think it's interesting because it's just always interesting to hear what other like third party organizations are saying about it. And I know like the ACLU basically said this is a stepping stone to like censorship,
Right.
uh, and which makes sense from their point of view and is like an encroachment on the First Amendment, which also makes sense. So I think that's something to keep in mind, right? Like it's about if the topic is TikTok and it's back on the table, it's not TikTok that we're talking about, right? What we're actually talking about is like the precedent that something like this would set. Like, can the government basically decide that access to certain information is just sweepingly across the board not allowed for basically the people who live in America,
Yeah,
which that their reasonings are X, Y, and Z, but what the implication of the like decision really would be is around yeah, First Amendment rights and access to information, and essentially that the government could deem anything sort of propaganda and then decide that we can't have access to it. So I think it's like I think it will always have like a bigger slippery slope than anything than what we're actually talking about, which is like, can we use the app in America? Right. So that's
Yeah.
why I kind of side with, I'm with you guys. I don't know that I'm necessarily worried about it, because I just think it's not as simple as like, is TikTok allowed to do this or not? It's got tendrils out into other spaces.
Yes.
I also think like this is where I will say like I'll be the first to admit I think TikTok does short form video best. I think it drives trends and I think it drives innovation, and not TikTok, but the users of the TikTok platform who make TikTok what it is. But I do think this is a great example of why competition is healthy, even in social media,
Yeah.
because the truth is like even if we were to lose TikTok tomorrow, the great benefit is that they have been the leader in that space, and so other platforms, YouTube, Meta, etc., have really been trying to understand how to compete and how to have a similar share of the market using their versions of these tools. So I think the good news is, if TikTok went down tomorrow, it doesn't mean short form video is off the table. It would just
Yeah.
change kind of like where things happen. And
Yeah.
so for that reason, I think it's, even though I might be like, I would pick TikTok over Reels any day, I know that there are other spaces where we could deploy like a similar strategy. So
Yep.
that's why I'm not going to like lose sleep over it. But I do think it's really interesting. And it's interesting for all of us to have a finger on the pulse on this, because truthfully, it's not a social media issue. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
implication it has is on a lot of people and things, creators, agencies, advertising, etc., and us, because this is like the arena in which we do our job. So what we're just putting on
Yeah.
the table. Yeah, I think it's interesting for those reasons, but I'm not gonna like start
Yeah.
getting too freaked out until we have more information.
I propose a new bill. If you are under 13, can't be on the app. Yes. If you are over a certain age, you can be on the app, but you can't make decisions about the app.
Yeah.
But I don't want to rob our viewers and our listeners of the actual factual information of what's happening next with this bill, just because of my lack of intelligence of how the U.S. government works. So I actually found it here. So what's next is, first, the bill, having passed the House Energy and Commerce Committee, will need to be voted on by the entire House of Representatives. If the majority votes in favor, the bill move to the Senate, and then that will be reviewed. And then there can be reconciliation, and then there's final approval, and then the president has to sign it, and then it's implemented. So there's like 6 steps that have to happen in order for that to go through. And if there's anything I know about our government, is nothing happens fast. So just maybe NBD for now. NBD TBD. We'll fall back. We'll circle back. Let's move into our actual topic for the day, shall we? This week we log
kind of
on.
related, actually.
Yeah, kind of related. We log on for our internal meeting to go over a client's paid ad campaign, and none of us can get on Instagram, which obviously means none of us can get on Facebook. And for those 2 of you that use Threads, couldn't get on there. So let's talk about it. This happened last year for like a whole day. It happened for like a full 8 hours, and then luckily this time it was, I think, only a few. But as social media managers, let's talk about what's our initial reaction when those happen, and also what are ways we can capitalize off of times like that, and what are the other things we can do when we can't be posting on Instagram. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
First and foremost, I think it's a really great reminder that social media is a tool in your communications toolkit, but you don't own the content that is posted to social once it's live, and you don't have control over whether it is up or down, even though it doesn't, frequently go down. So I think it's a great reminder that to view social media where it sits in the broader, communications bucket or marketing bucket that any person or business or organization might have. It's a fantastic discovery and connection tool. Like, it's a great way to reach your audiences. But if you don't have a space that you own, that you can bring that same audience to and kind of bring them into your world a little more intimately, whatever that looks like, whether it's a community that you build, a website that you can, push folks to that has, more about you and what you do in your business. If social is the only thing you've got cooking in that space, it's a stark reminder that we are at the whim of technology and the platforms to some degree. So, and I'm saying that as a social media manager. So I would be the first to say it's important to have robust
Yeah.
social presences, absolutely. But I think the point is that it can't be all of your digital presence, and it certainly can't be all of your communications or your marketing toolkit, because if it disappears tomorrow, if TikTok is banned tomorrow, if Instagram goes down forever, if the cloud disappears, if you get hacked, if you lose access to an account, if you,
Yeah.
I could go on and on and on. What do you do? And the deeper question there is not actually what do you do, but do you have the ability to still speak to your audience somewhere? Do you have a newsletter list? Do you have them in a Discord or in a Slack community? Do you have a website where you can blog and share content? Do you have, if you're like a B2B business, like, do you have like a presence, elsewhere that you can cultivate and continue your relationship with the community? Because at the end of the day, what you're using social for is speaking to and expanding the potential community that you reach, right? So if that community only exists by way of your account followers, and that's the only place they can get a hold of you, they don't have your contact information otherwise, they don't have a space to go find information about you, you do run the risk of losing everything if for some reason we wake up tomorrow and the grid blacks out and social goes away forever, right? Or any number of things. So it's interesting because for us as social media managers, the action of it all, like when Instagram is down and we have to figure it out and we're typing in Google,
Yeah.
is Instagram down, and figuring out if our clients need to, like, if posts failed and do we need to reschedule them, like, yes, there's like tactical implications, but like really that stuff doesn't matter as much as like, are we safe? Like, if this never comes back, are we still good to go? And that's
Yeah.
almost like a crisis management situation, right? Like that's having
Mm-hmm.
a longevity, like a looking of future thinking about what you're trying to do. So I don't know, every time this happens, I guess I'm just reminded that it's like, you don't own your social media presence, because it's your content and it's you, but it's not you don't get to control what happens to those spaces. So don't let it be the only thing you have, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it all comes back to like why you can't pigeonhole yourself to one platform or one content type, because um, you could lose your Instagram, right? And if all you are posting is images, then how are you going to now support like other platforms? You can't now start posting
Right.
TikToks with images, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're only posting videos, how are you going to support your LinkedIn and your Facebook and your TikTok? Like, yes, you can post videos everywhere, but is it going to be able to be pivotable if you don't already go on those platforms? And who wants to start from scratch if you're in that position? Like, that's even more stressful when you're crisis managing a situation like that and you're like, okay, now let's go and do this again from here in this platform that we've never done.
Yeah.
So it's important to diversify yourself on multiple platforms from the get-go, whether it's yourself or a client. Saying, yes, you're on Instagram, but maybe you also consider being over here on TikTok, even just having a presence for these. Like, you don't want to instill fear and be like, you could get hacked and you could lose everything. But you want to be like, yeah, there's other audiences over here. And it's realistic that whoever you're talking to on this platform is definitely here in some capacity as well. But also diversifying that content type, because you want to be able to support. Every platform loves different types of content. Even if it's video, they love different lengths and different styles and adding different features to it. So it's like optimizing your strategy and being able to pivot, being malleable, and also having a foot in enough spaces that you won't be fucked if you're in this position.
100%.
It really is a jump scare though when we log on. It's like right to down detector.
Yeah. And here's the thing. One thing I will say, there's so many memes that get posted like as soon as that happens, which of course, like, especially if you follow like other marketers or social media content creators, etc. One thing that kills me is when people are like, me because social media is down today, and it's like implying that like it's a free day off. Like, those always make me tilt my head, because I'm like, I don't know about you, but it makes a lot more work for all of us on our plate, because first of all, it's the like, is this, the very first thing we do is like, how long has it been down? Like, is it like a long time? Because like once it hits like an hour or so, then it's like, well, we could tell people, like we could tell clients to let them know so that they're not like figuring it out on their own, or we don't say it because we don't want to like, cause a panic where there doesn't need to be one. Plus, it's
Yeah.
like I mentioned, like if anything didn't go out, then you have to like reschedule it and like or pull things down if they're like supposed to go out and you don't want them to go out to like dead silence because no one's on the platform.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is in no way a free day off just because like the places
No.
that we do our work are down. In fact, it makes more work. So whenever that happens, I'm like, what is your job that you just get to like log off if social media goes down? Like not can't relate basically.
Yeah. I
Point, I
agree.
think I was in a weird way, it's you can kind of lean into those times where platforms are down and start thinking about the different things that you could be doing and instead of that, and just like using your creativity to create different posts or like just generate ideas, like allow that to be the time that you kind of lean into the creativity of it all
Yeah.
Yeah.
and not panic at all, and just
Yeah.
there are other ways to
Well,
fill your time.
and you're not ever creating content in the app, right? Or maybe you are in stories, or if you're a person that goes live.
Right, exactly.
But like there's go in Canva and make some batch some, or go record some, go ask ChatGPT some prompts and go record some content, and then spend some time editing it. Like that alone can be a whole afternoon.
Yeah,
So like do the other stuff.
exactly.
Um, but it can be a little scary. I also wouldn't like you, no need to like alarm your clients. I would not send out like a notice being like, don't worry, clients, it's down. Then you're going to require more work for yourself, either panicking them or having them ask what that means or getting into semantics.
Yeah.
So I would just let it be. And if they come to you and are like, what's going on? You can reassure them that it's platform wide. But I would not say anything to your clients unless they come to you. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, agreed.
Ditto.
Well, I hope it doesn't happen again, but we know it will. We know it will. We might lose the whole platform soon. TikTok, don't leave us. We love you, babe. But let's move on to our most important topic of today, which is our mental health check-in. So I know I've been feeling it recently. The burnout is real. And it's even worse when you know it's happening and you know it's coming and you can feel the signs, and yet you still let it happen.
Yeah.
Especially when you work in the social media industry, an industry that on the work side never turns off, is literally running 24/7 all year long, every year, all the time. And so boundaries are very hard to set. But also, social media is supposed to be something fun that we consume on our off hours, that you're supposed to do when you're not working, just to like disassociate. But when you're somebody that loves your job and does what we do, it's hard to turn any of that off. So what are some ways that y'all avoid burnout and like allow yourself to still enjoy the thing that we do every day, which is social media?
Not the long pause because it's a really hard question to answer,
I
but
know. I know.
um, for me, I have reserved some like spaces and places when it comes to like content, even beyond social, that are just mine for like delight
Yeah.
purposes. Um, and they're so far removed from like the types of content and work that we do for our clients. So I don't sorry, I just got a phone call and it came to my computer and it drowned out absolutely everything I could
That's
hear
so
and see.
loud.
It was
I
so
know that.
I'm so thrown off, and it was a Honolulu number, so like don't know who you are.
Okay,
Anyway,
rewind.
there are a lot of content spaces that I consume that have absolutely nothing to do with the kind of work that we do. Like you couldn't even like draw similarities if you tried. And I like treasure those spaces because for me, that's my way of like truly consuming content with no pressure. And I'm not like secretly thinking about like how to steal the like success of this content and apply those theories to like the work that we do and whatever. And so that ends up being like really niche pieces of content. Like I am just obsessed with this woman who's a um, Korean Canadian housewife, and she like vlogs all of her cooking and shop hauls and stuff, and fully is speaking Korean, and I just read the subtitles along, and it's like I look forward to her once a week videos so much, and I follow her on social, but like I feel like when I'm like engaging with that stuff, like I don't even try to go into work mode because it's just like so differentiated that I'm like, this is just my like joyful time to
Yeah.
just like sit and
Yeah.
watch and be happy, which I can't really say about like TikTok even. Like as I'm scrolling through TikTok, y'all know I will just like send a DM at, like it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'll see something that's like funny or be like this great idea for X
Yeah.
client. You know what I mean? So like it's hard even in like those natural spaces to do that turning off. But I really feel like cherishing like some of these like pieces of content and moments online
Hmm.
that I can really detach work from help me like want to still consume content on a
Yeah.
regular
Yeah.
basis. But it's hard. The lines are blurry.
They are so blurry. I will say to that point, two things I do. One is I have my platforms. Like I have specific platforms that I can go to, and that doesn't feel like work, and I don't get sucked into work on those. YouTube, because I just go right to the channels that I know I want to watch, and I watch them. And then TikTok is pretty much like because in TikTok, I never go to the following. I always am on For You page because
Same.
I don't like I will go I'll get served it I'll get served by following sometimes and when important. But other than that, I let the FYP do its job because I don't need to know anybody that I'm seeing like personally, just my parasocial friends and like that is my safe space, my safe space. Instagram, can't even look at her.
Oh,
I've got clients DMing me on there, things. I've got everybody all up in my business. And so that's like, I have to boundary myself. If I'm going to scroll before in the morning or before bed, I do not go to Instagram. LinkedIn, obviously, I like wouldn't even think to go there for funsy scrolls. I mean, some people do. I think of it during the day scrolling. Um, so those I have like platform boundaries, but on the platforms, like sometimes TikTok, I do get served client stuff, or we're just creative, so you can't help but turn that off. So I'm going to get served stuff sometimes, and it's going to spark an idea. So when that happens, I have a specific folder, saved folder. It says for clients, and I just save it right there so I can table it for another time, but I don't have to think about it anymore there. And then I keep scrolling. So like if I have to on the platforms that are my safe ones, I'll hold the space like to be like, okay, you can put the thought there because sometimes you can't resist, when it comes in, even if you have a boundary up. So you got to give it space to go and then circle back.
Yeah. Agreed.
What about you,
that's all you can
MK?
do.
I resonate deeply with everything you're saying. I think I have kind of a different experience with Instagram, however, as of late. I have been, this is such an unpopular, I'm so embarrassed opinion to admit, but I have been enjoying Instagram Reels because I strictly get like funny content that has me cackling, whereas TikTok, I'm constantly fed either highly like life altering ideas and also work stuff, and it kind of overwhelms me sometimes that I'm like, I can't. So
Yeah.
I've been really leaning into Instagram Reels. However, totally separate. I have found this lady on TikTok, and she lives in the mountains of Switzerland, and she has her own farm, and she cooks everything from scratch, and it's like an ASMR style.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Oh my god, I am obsessed with her. Like I spent hours watching every single video that I'm like, I want her life so bad. It is so, it just itches a scratch. So that has been something that I've been really enjoying, and it makes
Nice.
me not think about anything other than her work.
I always like internally call that like a brain emptying content,
Yes,
like something that just like you just stop thinking about everything else and just zero in on whatever's happening in front of you. And like I love that because I feel like better afterwards, like
yes,
consuming content like that. My
yes.
Korean housewife woman is so that it's Michelle Park. Michelle, I
Love
love you so much.
that.
Um, and also like Cecilia from Svalbard. She lives in like it's like basically the North Pole, I think, and they have like polar night there. So she's on TikTok, but she's also on YouTube. Like she's another one. Like when I'm watching that, it's just like no thoughts, just living in the Antarctic with my husky dog and
Yeah.
like I that is you know what it is? It's transporting. You know what I mean? It takes you out
Yes.
of reality and like
Yeah.
somewhere else. And there's
Yeah.
really something to that. Because truly like consuming content from social for work does not do that. It's very reality based because you're like, how can I apply this? How can I take this and do something with
Yes.
it? And
Yes.
it's not content for the sake of content anymore. So
So true.
Agreed.
But I just want to
Also,
say also I'm not like I don't even open Instagram. Sorry. I can't do it. Like Instagram just feels like work to me at all times. Like
yeah.
I can't even I'm at the point where I won't even post anymore. Like I'm over it. So
I know.
sorry,
I
IG.
literally forget I have to do that, and I do it once in a while, and then I'm like, oh, love those dopamine hits, and then I forget about it.
It takes me, I like, I'll go on little spurts where I'm like, oh, it's fun to post. And then I'm like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
this is embarrassing. Why am I posting so
Yeah.
much?
No, I know. I'm the same way. I'm like worried people are gonna think I'm unwell or going through an episode when I like just like, oh, I'm just really happy this week and I have some time and I'm not burnt out, so I'm posting. Hi.
That's such a good
My
point.
mom always, my mom always says if she'll check in with me if I don't post for more than a few days because she'll be like, I first of all don't know what you've been up to, but also I know that's when you feel like busiest.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny.
It is so funny. Like, you oftentimes hear that when someone like just got out of a breakup, or if they're just going through something in
Uh-huh.
general, they post a lot on their Instagram stories. And
Yeah.
similarly to you, like literally if I just have free time and I think something's funny, like I will just share. And then I'm like, wait, I'm coming across as unwell.
Yeah.
But
That's so funny. I'm glad that's a shared experience.
yeah, I
But
know.
like I never think but like think about it on the flip side, I never think about that when I'm tapping through. If I
Okay.
get sick of it, I just swipe out. I'm not like, oh, this person's manic. Damn.
Never. I don't.
I don't ever think that.
Yeah, yeah.
So why do we think that for ourselves?
So true.
We're silly little self-critics.
Yes.
Don't do that. Silly, silly. Um,
Lastly, I will say,
yeah.
sorry, I will say
Mhm.
that sometimes when I'm feeling a little like burnt out, LinkedIn has been, I know this is going to sound like
No, I know what you
weird,
mean.
but I do like going, and the way that my feed is, it shows me people that are in my space and also a lot of the times are sharing common feelings. And so it just makes me
Yeah.
feel less alone and like, okay, we are all in this space together and it's normal to
Yes.
feel these ways. So
I agree too. Yeah. That's why I said I don't scroll for fun because it makes me think about work, but only because it's that. It's like
yeah,
shared experiences and other people kind of relating to me in the work world. So sometimes, like on the weekends, I'm like, yeah, let me just pretend I don't. I can think about that. But during the workday, when I'm on that on LinkedIn scrolling, I'm always like, oh, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel supported.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, fam,
That'll do.
shall we? Yeah, that'll do, Magoos. I feel like let's leave it off. We kind of gave what we do. So if anybody has any tips that they think, uh, are different and want to share with other social media managers out there, feel free to send it in to us in all the ways that you can contact us, DMs, comments, come to my house, leave a note, whatever you need. And we will share it on the next episode because I think this is a really important topic. Wellness is honestly one of my core values. I think it's really important to prioritize as humans. We don't do it enough. Um, Yeah. Whatever you need, do it for yourself. Fill up your own bucket. Take yourself to the curio shop. Get yourself what you need to fill up your own cup this weekend.
Love it.
See y'all next
TGIF,
week.
y'all.
See ya.
Bye.